All of that. Fox News contributor and syndicated radio host Richard Fowler and Fox News contributor and senior fellow at Independent Women's Voice Lisa Booth. What a team. Here we go.
And congrats on the new book, Steve.
Thank you so much. You haven't read it yet.
No, but
I've already pre-ordered.
It's still exciting. It's nonetheless. I'm sure it'll be
great.
Give
me the congrats after you've read it. Look, the president this week, he took a lot of heat, including from many voices on this network, yours included.
Right.
I watched your reaction to what happened on Monday. But what's interesting to me is that, you have Brian Kilmeade, Laura Ingraham and others. But what's interesting is that it seems to me the more over the top the critics go, the more it actually sways people in favor of President Trump, and his supporters just feel more in support of him.
Well, absolutely. And look, you wonder why President Trump, too, questioned the Intelligence Committee under President Obama, and then you hear John Brennan speaking like that. So, of course, President Trump had concerns about the intel community under President Obama. But you're right, Steve. A lot of us were, concerned, didn't like the press conference. He even lost Newt Gingrich, has been, probably one of the most reliable people in his corner. But here you go, and you've got all these people that grossly overreach. And you're right, it does bring people into his camp. Comparing it to Pearl Harbor, where we lost 2,400 Americans, over 1,400 people injured, led to the Second World War. Yeah. We're talking about 60 million plus people died, 3% of the world's population. So to make a comparison like that is completely idiotic. And this is what people...
And so another one. Was it the same person that compared it to Kristallnacht under the Nazis? Well, just unbelievable, this kind of talk.
Well, and people also continue to forget that President Trump, in terms of his policies, has been way tougher than President Obama was. And it was Robert Gates and Leon Panetta that said that Putin saw the opportunity to meddle in the election because of President Obama's weakness and his failure to match rhetoric with actions.
So, Richard, come on then. Do you think President Trump is a Russian agent?
I don't know. I can't speak to
that. That's what
right?
Seth Moulton said. Oh, come off it. You can't even.
But
you can't think it's even.
But here's
no,
I think the reason
you have someone in Congress who's literally going to be one of the candidates for president.
I doubt Seth Moulton's going to run for Congress.
Who's not dismissing this completely out of hand.
But herein lies the larger problem. The reason why we could even have this discussion is because President Trump opened the floodgates. The first thing the president does from a messaging perspective is he tries to, conflate Russia meddling to Trump campaign collusion. There is a wide chasm between those two things. The Russia meddling in our election is a fact.
Yes,
period.
Absolutely.
The Trump campaign colluding is under investigation by the Mueller investigation. And so we have to wait to see what happens with that. And I think when he keeps conflating the two, that is why he's in this situation that he's in today. And he's had one of the worst 2 weeks in foreign policy.
Yeah.
But do you really think that it's been President Trump conflating those two issues?
Yes.
Democrats have been leading the charge in conflating the two issues to try to delegitimize this president. And Steve, one thing that never gets talked about, you had those on the left that were calling for faithless electors. So if we're worried about sowing chaos into the electoral process, nobody called that out. What does that do? What sort of message does that send voters that essentially your vote is irrelevant? And you had those on the left encouraging that.
So on the chaos point, there's another. I've heard this theory. I'd love to get your reaction to it, which is that let's just say that there's a lot of talk that the Russians are absolutely doing it just as much as before for the midterms, right? So but there's speculation that actually if they really want to do the chaos, then what is chaotic is split government, divided government. You have Democrats controlling Congress, a Republican in the White House. The Democrats might then impeach Trump. They want that chaos. In other words, that this time the Russian interference could be in favor of Democrats. If that turns out to be true, do you think the Democrats might actually have a different story on it?
No, listen, there's no story on it. Our democracy is at stake when Russia or any foreign entity engage our election. And divided government, whether you like it or not, is actually the most effective government. Ask Newt Gingrich. He got more done as Speaker of the House working with Bill Clinton. Ask Tip O'Neill. He got more done working with Ronald Reagan. Democrats and Republicans working together actually get more things accomplished.
That's a fair point.
History proves that.
Okay.
But the problem is that Democrats have been running this with this narrative of, basically leaving open the idea that Russia actually influenced the election.
But
the Obama administration...
No, sorry, just to be clear, they tried to, everyone agrees that they tried to. There's absolutely no agreement that it affected the result.
We were told by Jay Johnson that, one, the system is too decentralized for Russia to actually have an impact on the votes, being counted themselves. President Obama's come out and said that no votes were changed. You look at the amount of money spent, look at places on social media, $2,000 in Wisconsin Wisconsin is a joke. Jeb Bush spent, I think, almost $3,000 per voter in the Republican primary in the state of Iowa. $2,000 is nothing. It's not changing
that the
vote
Russians
or opinions.
tried to hack into voter machines all across the country. They also,
by the way, we could have easily been the Chinese and the Iranians and North Koreans as well. We're constantly going on about Russia. As I keep saying,
hear all
China
of that,
is a much worse threat.
But the debate is around.
Why don't you go on about it?
The debate right now is around Russia meddling in our election. And here's what we know here's what we know to be fact. They tried to hack into various voter machines, voter systems. We know they hacked the DNC. We know they hacked Podesta. That had a definite impact on the DNC operation, period. And if they had an effect on the DNC operation, which is a major political party in this country, they impacted the election. So this notion or this ideal that Russia never impacted the election is ridiculous.
But impacted is a very kind of vague term. Impacted is not the same as influenced and caused the election one way or another.
So here's the question then. So the question, the real question on the table is the fact that all those DNC emails were out there, do you think that had no impact on voters? You think one voter didn't change their mind because they read all those emails? Well, if one voter changed their mind, then Russia had an impact on this election.
The idea that after this incredibly huge and surprising upset, beat this most unlikely candidate, beating 16 Republicans, then the most qualified la-di-da candidate ever. Well, and the idea that incredible turnaround to what everyone expected happened because of the Russians, to me, seems
no, that's not. I think you're misconstruing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the email hack of Podesta's emails and the DNC emails slowed down one political party's ability to compete against another political party, then they had an influence on the election.
You've made that point before. Lisa, last one.
Well, one, the WikiLeaks and the information released hardly got any coverage, especially not in comparison. I think the allegations against President Trump were covered 7 times as much as WikiLeaks in 1 week period. So it barely got covered in terms of some of these unsubstantiated allegations about President Trump.
Don't prepare your next thing. Lisa has the last
word. I like this. Also, another point is the fact that President Trump has responded to this meddling as well in terms of sanctions, in terms of expelling Russian diplomats, and in terms of shuttering consulates and things like that. And also in response, sending lethal weapons to Ukraine. I mean, President Trump has responded by being very tough on Russia.
Okay, there we are. Good debate. I'm going to say it again. If you want an election that is not going to be hacked by anyone, pencil and paper.
I agree there.
That's the way to go. All right, coming.